Well, welcome to week 11. Aren't we having a good time, okay? It's really flying by now. What you'll find in all your courses as you move into November is the heat really picks up, okay? Everything starts to feel very compressed in all your courses. Lots of things come due, all right? And then the time between Thanksgiving and the end of the term is just crazy. But right now is when you really want to put the pedal to the metal, okay, and really make sure you're on top of everything in all your courses. This is kind of your last chance to stay organized, okay? So with that in mind, this week your big PowerPoint project's due. I really enjoy this project. I get a big kick out of looking at these. And I'd like you to think of PowerPoint as an outline tool and as a presentation tool. You're not trying to present your whole research paper, okay? You can't do that. Instead, you're kind of presenting the outline. And like, what if you were giving a speech about your topic, okay, behind you while you were doing this, or a lecture? Like if I were in a face-to-face class, I'd have a PowerPoint behind me, and it would just have some main points. It wouldn't have everything, all right? So think of it that way. Think of it as an outline tool, as a presentation tool, and that's why I had you do your outline ahead of time. Speaking of which, I expect to have all those gone over by tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, okay? The PowerPoint itself helps you think through your project some more. It helps you visualize it. Many of us are visual learners. Not all of us, okay, but many of us are. And to some degree, all of us are visual learners, but some more so than others. And the majority of people are visual learners, particularly in this day and age, okay? It's a very visual age that we live in now. So I'm thinking that if you'll kind of visualize your paper, it's going to be easier to write, all right? So this is kind of a multifaceted project. There are multiple goals. And the overall goal is to get you constantly thinking about your paper, constantly brainstorming your paper, how you're really going to write it, all right? So the PowerPoint is part of this process of getting you to the finished paper, okay? Or at least to the first polished draft, all right? So that said, in this week's readings, I have quite a bit of material about PowerPoint for you. I have a resource page of PowerPoint tutorials if you're not real familiar with it. I have an article by Purdue about writing with PowerPoint. Sometimes your PowerPoints get really huge, all right, and because as you add pictures to them, they really bulk up. So there's a way to compress the pictures. So the PowerPoint itself isn't such a huge file. That's very important. And then I have a short lecture on how to use PowerPoint 2007 and also compress the pictures. That said, you know, you get pictures from the internet by right-clicking on them, okay, or if you got a Mac, I think it's control-click. And basically you can download them. Now, you can't be stealing pictures, all right, stealing images. You have to credit those pictures, okay? You have to have a line under the picture that says where it came from. Usually the URL of where it came from is sufficient, okay? As long as you're not using more than 10% of anybody's website, you're not hurting them, okay? But do make sure you credit every picture. I call it a little tagline, a little tiny cut line, like 9 or 10 point type right underneath the picture, just saying where it came from. Just keep it simple, all right? Now, that said, I don't like to see ever more than one picture per slide, all right? I'm always getting PowerPoints and dozens of pictures in each slide. Don't do that to your viewer. You know, think of somebody viewing this, not just on the computer screen, but sitting in an audience, and think of you out in front of that screen talking to the audience, okay? So your slide isn't supposed to contain your whole speech, all right? It's not supposed to contain the whole paper. It's an image to help the audience focus on sort of the concept of what you're talking about at this point, and then a couple of bullet points that, you know, are your outline points for that particular more major point, and then a title, okay? And what you could do, you could think of these slides as sort of body parts of your paper. Like if you had 10 slides, you know, the first tenth of the paper, the second tenth of the paper. So it's almost like your titles are almost like topics or topic sentences for that part of the paper, and then the bullet points are the topic sentences themselves for each paragraph. So think of this, think of slides as paragraphs, or maybe a grouping of paragraphs. So think conceptually, think visually, all right? Think of this slide as, okay, I'm going to develop a couple paragraphs on this point that I want to make in this slide. Then I'm going to develop a couple paragraphs on this point that I want to make into this slide. So to summarize, I want to see a cover slide first that, you know, has your name on it and the topic of the paper, all right? That's the cover slide. You can put a picture of yourself or a picture of anything related to the topic, whatever you'd like. That's great. And then I'd like to see a table of contents. How is this presentation going to unfold? And you can practically use your outline for this, okay? At least part of your outline. You know, kind of just bullet point it down. That's your table of contents, and then you have one slide for each item, the table of contents, and then the final slide needs to be a works cited, okay? I think I have given a minimum number of slides that I want for this. You're going to have to look that up. I'm not sure I can find it very quickly. Why did I do that? PowerPoint. Anyway, the more slides, the merrier. Don't go under the minimum. I believe if you click here, I'll just click myself here. Submit your PowerPoint. 15 to 25 slides. So I'm very, very serious about that. Okay. The other thing you need to remember is the PowerPoint gets submitted in 2 places, and I always have this happen. Students forget to submit it in 2 places. It must be submitted to the assignment link. I'm looking at the learning module right this second, and there's a title called Writing Assignment Submission, and underneath that it has instructions for the PowerPoint presentation. Then it has an example. Okay, I give you an example of one that got an A from a recent semester. And then there's a link called Submit Your PPT, and that link goes directly to me. That's where I grade it. Okay, and I grade you in private. I don't grade you in public for those. And then there's a final link there in the learning module that says Share Your PPT, and that's where you peer review them. That's just like a regular discussion forum. Put your PowerPoint there, let your peers see it, comment on each other's work. Okay, very, very critical. So let me look at my notes. I think I've covered that. 1 picture per slide. Make sure you have a cut line under your picture. Make sure you start with a good cover slide that has your name on it, name of the class, title of the paper. It could be a picture of yourself, picture of something to do with your project, whatever you'd like. That's fine. Table of contents. In some place, I'd like to see your thesis statement. Wherever you are with your thesis statement right now, that could be a slide. All right. So getting to 15 to 25 slides isn't going to be very difficult because I've already given you cover slide, table of contents slide, thesis statement slide, and a works cited slide. All right. So I've already given you 4 or 5 slides, okay, to do. So please don't use any of those crappy templates from Microsoft. They're really, really ugly. Don't use any special effects. I don't want to see swirling words. I don't want to hear typewriters. I don't want to hear anything like that. Keep it simple. All right. You make it attractive. Any of you can design. You can design your own template. You can make it pretty. Do anything like that you want. All right. But basically, keep it unified. Every slide should look like the previous slide. Don't be jumping around. Slides. Pick a theme of your own, design a theme, and stick to it. Don't try to make your slides all different. That's very, very annoying. No special animations. That's very annoying. Okay, don't do that. No sound. That's very annoying. Don't do that. Okay. It's too bad they build all that stuff into PowerPoint because it just helps people create terrible PowerPoints. So that said, I think I'd like to keep this short. Have a great week. I will get your outlines back to you by Wednesday evening. So if you have any questions about your PowerPoint, don't hesitate to mail me.